A lot of people are not eating enough protein. Protein is the good guy. Chicken breast sucks, they're dry. But if you look at something like a chicken thigh, a steak, these guys on their own are not the bad guys. It's all the shit that we put with them and on them. If we're restricting protein, if we're saying we're gonna eat less, so I'm not having a 250 gram steak, I'm gonna have a 200 gram steak, we're in trouble. Especially if we're saying, I'm still having that 200 gram steak with all that sugary sauce, we're in big trouble. Most people that say they're having no carbohydrate are absolutely full of shit. Carbohydrate is giving us energy. Once we cut it out, we don't have any energy, but we expect performance. If we want to perform on a high level in any part of our life, we need to ensure that we have carbohydrate. Some of you might think that you have a lot of consistency. Take pictures of your food every meal for 7 days, and then bring it all up on your screen at the same time and check if you're consistent through the amount of food and the balance of macronutrients. It's a dead set giveaway whether you are actually eating enough, too much, and what's going on within your food. Some people are not able to sleep properly because of their nutrition. Some people have slumps in the afternoon, in their energy because of the nutrition, mood swings. There's a whole load of different things going on. And what this means is that sometimes we're not able to perform as an athlete, sometimes we're not able to perform as a parent, sometimes we're not able to perform as a partner or as a professional in our job. If you feel like you have a lot of ups and downs in your energy, in your workplace, in your private life, in every aspect of your life, then this show is for you. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the InnerFight Podcast. Today, I'm talking all about eating right and boosting your performance. I'm gonna share a load of tips, and some of the ones that I share at the end are honestly absolutely crucial. They're gonna help you to perform better in all areas of your life. And they're often massively overlooked by, it doesn't matter who. And this show is not just for performance athletes, this is for performance in life. If you are in the workplace, if you have amazing career goals, this show is for you. I'm gonna definitely educate you, teach you, and help you to understand more about how you can fuel your performance on every level with your nutrition. It is some of the lowest lying fruit. I'll be giving you practical advice that you can implement today. You're gonna boost your energy, you're gonna recover quicker, you're gonna feel better, mentally you're gonna perform better. It's a pretty good show I've put together here. It is only me, but over the next 45 minutes, I can guarantee you there are things that you will be able to take and you will be able to implement in your life that will help you perform better no matter what you're doing. Hey folks, this week's show announcements, very short and sweet, but very, very important. Number one, thank you to everybody who showed up last weekend to our 4th year anniversary here at Studio City, our Olivara facility. Yes, we've been going since 2008, but this is 4 years since we moved from Alcoz to our location here in Studio City at Olivara Residence. So thank you everyone that showed up or sent us a message. There were a lot of messages for people that couldn't make it. The only other announcement, if you want training, if you want to know what's available training-wise, if you want all of our programs that we carry out, pretty much most of the information, you can get it all over at theinnerfightway.com. We put up there all of our specialty classes, what the direction is, all of our mainline classes, what the direction is, and what the daily workouts are, as well as what's happening in our endurance section and ladies run club. It's updated every week, so actually the secret is you could take all the training and do it all on your own. I'm not sure why I'm telling you that. Why am I giving away all of the secrets? But if you want to know what's going on, it's all over there. Now let's get into today's show. This is episode number 936 of the InnerFight Podcast. No matter where you are in the world, thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's jump into today's show. Hello, welcome, and yes, after that huge introduction where I've promised so much, I have a lot to deliver on, and I will, don't worry. There is practical advice, there's tips, loads of actual just go-to tips, and I'm doing a little bit of an FAQ or common problems at the end as well. But what's really going on here? Many of us are trying to perform at a high level in a number of different ways. And as I said in the introduction, this show is not just about sports people, this show is about life. We want to try and make you better at life, so let's not just be biased towards people that play sport, right? It doesn't matter if you come to the gym just to make yourself a little bit better in all areas of your life, or just to try and feel a little bit better. Maybe the gym is a little bit of a detox. We want you to feel good when you come to the gym through what you eat, but I also want you to feel good throughout the day. You're only with us at the gym for 1 hour of the day, you're 23 hours. And we see all sorts of different issues related to nutrition. Some people are not able to sleep properly because of their nutrition. Some people have slumps in the afternoon, in their energy because of the nutrition, mood swings. There's a whole load of different things going on. And what this means is that sometimes we're not able to perform as an athlete, sometimes we're not able to perform as a parent, sometimes we're not able to perform as a partner or as a professional in our job. We often wake up hungry, and when we're hungry, we're generally a little bit susceptible to weakness when it comes to food. Often, our first meal of the day could be not super nutrient dense, not very healthy. We're able sometimes, because we get a spike in sugar and a little bit of a spike in our energy, so we're able to perform for a short period of time, and then we slump again and the cycle repeats itself. If that's you, then this show is for you. If you feel like you have a lot of ups and downs in your energy, in your workplace, in your private life, in every aspect of your life, then this show is for you. I will help you to understand how you can eat better to perform better. One thing that we should really understand is that our diet, and by that I mean the food available to us, has changed massively over the last 20 years. However, the human body has not changed massively. The food industry, the way that food is produced, the way that food is engineered, processed scientifically and developed, and basically from a business standpoint, the way that the food industry is become so lucrative, and what the food industry is doing on the whole is looking to see how they can maximize margins, means that the food that we are eating, or that we are buying and therefore eating, or that is available to us, is very, very different to what was available 20 years ago. However, the human body has not changed much at all. The human body still demands energy, still processes food in the same way, still needs similar enzymes to break down that food. But the input is different, but the machine is the same. It's quite weird. It's almost like we're suddenly putting the wrong petrol in the wrong car, or we're putting petrol in a diesel car, or seeing as we've got so many electric cars these days, we're actually trying to put petrol into an electric car. There's carnage everywhere. And that's one of the main reasons why people are having issues with food. We're buying food, but when we eat it, we don't feel great. And we sometimes don't get the desired effect. Slow release of energy, good mood every day or throughout the day, good brain function, good physical energy when we come to the gym. A lot of the time it's lacking. And the reason it's lacking is because of the food we're eating. A lot of the time as well, we're eating a little bit for convenience. We don't massively prioritize food. We've opted for convenience through apps rather than actually sitting down, as perhaps maybe your parents or your grandparents did, on once a week, making a shopping list for the week, actually planning what we're going to eat for the week. That might sound really alien to a lot of people that they don't even know what they're going to eat tomorrow. If you don't know what you're going to eat tomorrow, then I would suggest that maybe you're not prioritizing your nutrition enough. And a lot of people will immediately start to speak about time as an excuse. Yes, to eat well, to prepare your food, to be prepared takes time. But to do anything well in life, to be prepared And to execute on a high level, which is what I want you to do, takes a little bit of time and effort. So generally now, we're eating a lot more on a convenience level. And sometimes it's hard to argue sometimes because you have an app, anything from whatever app you're using in whatever country you are, whether it's Uber Eats, Deliveroo, Talabat in Dubai, there's a load of different apps all around the world that allows you to save a little bit of time by not having to plan what you're going to buy at the grocery store that week. And then when you're ready, in 15 minutes, you can have that food to you. I'd challenge you a little bit. What is that food that's coming towards you? Probably not the best. It also has led to a lack of skills or our ability to be able to cook. The number of people that I know that actually don't even know how to boil an egg these days or fry an egg is absolutely frightening. I won't mention any names. But if that's you, maybe I should do a YouTube show on cooking an egg. No, I'll get Holly to do that. But we don't have the skills, and we're not taught skills as well. Yes, when I was at school, I did home economics, and a lot of people did as well. I'm not even sure if that's a subject anymore. There's not much priority put on learning about nutrition, what food actually is, and therefore have to cook it. The skills to be able to cook something are probably missing. Another thing that's missing is probably a little bit of lack of education on the impact of food. Food is not all created equal. The processed food and fresh food is not the same. And maybe some people don't know that due to a lack of education, not by your own choice. No one wants to be poorly educated. But again, some of the systems that are in place now are not teaching people in the right way. So some people are eating food that they believe should be making them look, feel, and perform better. However, it's actually not. And I understand that that can cause quite a lot of frustration for people as well. Oh, we're told we should eat this, and you start eating that and it doesn't really work. We're told that low fat is gonna lose weight. You start eating low fat and it doesn't work. You're told that this type of diet is the best diet and it's gonna make you feel, look, perform amazing. You eat it and it doesn't work. So there's a lot of disjointedness and lack of education and disjointedness in the education. And then of course, what speaks loudest often is marketing dollars. And big companies with big marketing budgets are able to take our attention on various platforms, infiltrate us, and make us think and believe that what they're saying is the truth. So hopefully in this show, I will bring you on maybe a righter path or give you some ideas that you might want to pursue a righter path. And I can only kickstart some thoughts for you. If you want to perform on a higher level and you want to use nutrition, which is a key element to perform on a higher level, it's actually one of the key elements to perform on a higher level, then you're going to need to invest some time and some energy into it. However, I don't actually believe that food prep, grocery shopping, and eating food that you've cooked, I don't think the time investment is disproportionate to the return on investment. It's very proportionate. In fact, it's probably disproportionate in the other way around. The time that it takes to do it is probably minimal compared to the output that you get from it. Think about it like that. It's an interesting equation. So let's rewind a little bit and let's start to understand maybe why nutrition is important. And the way to understand why nutrition is important is we must first really understand what nutrition is. Yes, it's food, but what really is the food and why do we need it in our bodies? Some of you may have heard of some of these words before, and to some of you they might be new, but we can essentially break nutrition down, the elements of nutrition, we can break down on two different levels. The first level we have is macronutrients. by their very name, macronutrients, they're the big nutrients. And there's 3 macronutrients that we need to know about, that we have and that we take care of, which are carbohydrates, protein, and fats. So 3, which you've probably heard before. We've heard about high carb, low carb diet, high fat, low fat diet, protein. What does it do? Maybe we haven't heard so much about. However, in order to function properly, we need to make sure that we really have quite a consistent spread of those macronutrients. If we are not spreading those macronutrients consistently, then we'll naturally get fluctuations in mental and physical energy from the get-go. And this is one of the biggest problems we have. I see here on a personal level from people, and also we see and hear on a number of different platforms that people are restricting certain macronutrients because they're told that that's the way to enhance or get closer to their goal. We might see that people are reducing carbohydrate because they believe that carbohydrate is the reason why they're gaining weight. These kind of things are very commonplace and a very common script that people are following these days. Restrict this macronutrient, you'll get this. Enhance this macronutrient, you'll get that. It's not always quite so simple. So what are these macronutrients doing for us? Why do we need carbohydrate? Well, the simplicity of it is that carbohydrate is the main source of energy that comes into the body. So as soon as we start to restrict carbohydrate, we immediately reduce the amount of energy that's coming into the body, which is carnage from the start. Therefore, we're probably unable to perform at the same level. We don't have as much gas in the tank as we'd have to do the reps in the gym, to have energy to go out and build friendships and relationships, or to do our work properly. Yes, we can filter the type of carbohydrate that we have and the quality of the carbohydrate. It's very, very different from just saying no carbohydrate. To be honest with you as well, most people that say then having no carbohydrate are absolutely full of shit, because they will be having carbohydrate in some form. It's just people believe that carbohydrate is just things like bread. Actually, there's carbohydrate in way more things than just bread. Yeah, you even have carbohydrate in dairy products, which I won't go into too much detail about. So it's the quality of the carbohydrate that we need to worry about. If you take one thing from this show, the quality of your nutrition is the key. You can eat a whole load of high quality food and you will not have too many issues. You'll only have great things happening if you're eating high quality food. So carbohydrate is giving us energy. Once we restrict that carbohydrate, once we cut it out, we don't have any energy, but we expect performance. If we want to perform on a high level in any part of our life, we need to ensure that we have carbohydrate in our diet. That is hands down the simplicity of the whole thing. The second macronutrient that we have is protein. Protein is super important when it comes to tissue, building tissue, repairing tissue, and maintaining tissue, muscle tissue. This is super important, especially in training. And also remember, the brain is also a muscle. So protein is super important. A lot of people are not eating enough protein. Protein is the good guy. Chicken breast sucks, they're dry. But if you look at something like a chicken thigh, a steak, these guys on their own are not the bad guys. It's all the shit that we put with them and on them that are the bad guys. So from a protein standpoint, again, if we restrict protein, we restrict our body's ability to build, maintain, and repair muscle tissue and tissue throughout the body, which is absolutely essential for us. So muscle gets broken down. If we can't regrow it, repair it, and regrow it, we're in trouble. It also helps with the production of enzymes and hormones. It helps with our immune function. So if we're restricting protein, if we're saying we're gonna eat less, so I'm not having a 250 gram steak, I'm gonna have a 200 gram steak, we're in trouble. Especially if we're saying I'm still having that 200 gram steak with all that sugary sauce, we're in big trouble. Eat good carbohydrates and eat pure protein. Two absolute key things. Fats, people also have a little bit of a misconception about, but it's the third macronutrient and they're absolutely essential. They're also, excuse me, a big source of energy and they're very important for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, which are really, really super important. Now, there's two types of fats which you might have heard of. There's saturated and unsaturated fats. Now, saturated fats, there's an ongoing argument of how much we need of each and which one is better than the other. And we also have trans fats, which are these guys we can actually try and stay away from as much as possible because these are basically what we'd call artificial fats and they're found more in processed foods. So if you'll have in processed foods, you'd actually have a lot of trans fats, whereas in more natural foods, you'll have saturated and unsaturated fats. Both important for us. Trans fats are not super important as well. Fat is essential for us. And that's why it's a macronutrient and it should not be discounted from our diet. We should have it. Yes, the amount of fat that we have in our diet does not need to be as high as the amount of carbohydrate. So some people will opt for a super high fat diet. However, the way that the body is working, especially on an energy level, that might not be the right kind of energy. A certain amount of fat is going to keep us in a nice state and allow us to do a number of different things. And this is actually why I quite like a decent amount of fat in the diet, especially for people who are not performing, we're not taking the heart rate to a massively high level. It's not essential to have huge amounts of carbohydrate and very low amounts of fat. We can sort of bring them a little bit closer together. However, with a little bit, sometimes with a high fat diet, we see actually people that just do not do well on a whole load of fat. Their body cannot digest it. And we actually see this, and for those of you that are a bit squeamish, turn it off quickly, but we see this in fat coming through in stool as well. We can just see that the body is not processing fat in a right way because the stool becomes insanely fatty. So there are a few considerations there as well. But fat is absolutely essential for us. It helps to protect our organs. Obviously, we need fat to protect and insulate the body. It's not a bad thing. We need a certain amount of fat. Men, it doesn't need to be much over 10%. Females, it doesn't need to be much over 25%, just as a really rough guide. If you say, okay, how much fat should I actually have in my body? Some people obviously carry more, some people carry less. Also, fats are super important in the production of hormones. So this is why we see in one of Tim Ferriss's favorite things to do. And this is, I think, one of the ingredients in Brazil nuts is also selenium. But the fat in Brazil nuts and selenium combined as well actually helps a lot with hormone production. So we also need to make sure that we have a decent level of fat in the body. They are your three big macronutrients. If what I've said over the last sort of 7 or 8 minutes is a little bit too much detail, the simple ABC or idiot's guide or straightforward guide, whatever you want to call it, please make sure that each time you eat, you have a consistent balance of those 3 macronutrients. Very important. It doesn't have to be every single meal. But if you're eating breakfast today and breakfast tomorrow should have a similar makeup of macronutrients. Let's keep the same flow of energy going into your body. If I try to translate that roughly into a phone, for example, if you just plugged in your phone for a few minutes, you'd get a little bit of charge. And at the moment, we can also plug in our phone to different sources of energy. If we plug it into a super high power charger, our phone battery will charge very fast, it'll have good energy, and it'll last for a long time. If we plug it into like a USB in a car sometimes, it might take a lot longer. This is the same with the body with macronutrients. We need to make sure that we're plugging in, where possible, to the same charger each time, which hopefully is a high power charger. After macronutrients, it gets a little bit more funky. And this is where I think there's probably not enough attention from the media, maybe, information, maybe, whatever you want to call it. But the second group is what we call micronutrients. And whilst macronutrients are important, micronutrients are super, super important as well. What are micronutrients? Micronutrients are things like vitamins and minerals. And vitamins and minerals are absolutely essential for a whole range of bodily functions. We require them in smaller amounts compared to the macronutrients, but what they do in our body is super, super important. And what we see often is that micronutrients are also one of the first things to be omitted. They can't be fully omitted from our diet because they are contained within other foods for the most part, except processed foods, where they are actually removed and replaced with artificial micronutrients. However, we can't live without them. And you might have your spread of macronutrients quite good. However, if you are missing a lot of micronutrients, you will have ailments of various degrees. And this could be something as far as skin irritation all the way down to fatigue levels. That could be a micronutrient issue. And yes, skin irritation is often related to food. Not all the time, but often. So, what are the roles of our micronutrients? There are quite a few, but I just want to go over sort of 3 or 4. Number one role of, and these are in no particular order, number one, or a big role of micronutrients, is our immune function. They are essential for, I guess you just say, the proper functioning of our immune system, because they help maintain the balance of production and function of our immune cells. And essentially what I'm talking about here is things like vitamin C. Vitamin C is a micronutrient. We know that if we're getting a cold, we're gonna take vitamin C to boost the immune system. More recently, people are starting to understand things like zinc also will boost our immune system as well. So if we're just having steak, protein, which is great, and we're having it in a very pure form, but we're not also having micronutrients, we're not having things like vitamin C, things like zinc, then we could be compromising our immune system as well. Another key role of macronutrients is in the function of enzymes and metabolism. And our metabolism. When we are digesting food, we need that food to be broken down. And if we don't have the right micronutrients to break down that food, to help the enzymes to break down that food, then actually we never break down the food properly. The food is not absorbed correctly into our bodies, and therefore we cannot use it. So if we go back to a phone or a car, we've put the power in, we've put the petrol in, but it's sort of sat in this reserve, and the battery on the phone is still flat and the car won't go. But we know that we have this petrol or this power in it. We just need the micronutrient to be able to help us to break down the petrol or the charge that we've got and distribute it throughout the body. We need to distribute it to the brain, to the legs, to the arms when we're doing biceps, all those kind of areas. So micronutrients, second thing, they're absolutely essential for enzyme function, metabolism, actually turning our food into useful energy or function throughout the body. Micronutrients are also super important for our bone health. There are certain ones such as calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin K that are super important for bone health. Bone health is very, very important, especially as you get older as well. Bone health becomes more prevalent. We see a lot more cases of osteoporosis as people get old. Maybe it could be a deficiency in micronutrients, it could be a deficiency in calcium, vitamin D, vitamin K. So we need to make sure that we are taking care about our bones throughout our life. So really, really important. If we're not having that, then, and that's the thing, by bones, we hear a lot of people with joint pain, cracks in their back. This could be all down, could be, might not be, but could definitely be down to micronutrient and deficiencies in those three things that I said, those three micronutrients. We then go, I guess the final thing I want to share here on micronutrients, some of them act as antioxidants, and what that does is helps to protect our cells from overoxidative stress caused by free radicals. And what we can get there is cell damage and basically the contribution is maybe not the right word, provoking, or just a defense system which opens us up to chronic disease, such as potentially heart disease, cancer, or neurodegenerative disorders, which we really don't want to get into that area. And antioxidant micronutrients are probably things like vitamin E, definitely some more vitamin C, selenium I've mentioned as well as something that helps with our immune function too. So those things are super important. We basically just want to try and get free radicals out of our body, and micronutrients really help to boost our antioxidant defensive systems, if you like. So that's probably a decent enough wrap of micronutrients. But in summary there, they play a really important role in our immune system. They play an important role in bone health, enzyme and metabolism, so breaking food down and enabling us to actually use the food that we have, and also in our antioxidant defense, which all of this as a whole helps us to stay healthy, to use the good food, because we're going to eat good food. I'm going to tell you what is good food in a minute. To eat good food, to use good food, and basically to prevent disease, which is important as well. That chronic disease that I was speaking about just before is super important, and these micronutrients will really help to do that. They are massively, the portion of micronutrients, or the portion of micronutrients, the amount of micronutrient versus macronutrient is a lot smaller. However, their role in the body and their impact on our general health and therefore performance is absolutely huge and should not be discounted in any way. One guy, it was actually quite a lot of noise about this on a few different podcasts a year or so ago. A guy called Tim Spector actually gave a really good, so you sat there thinking, well, how do I get all of this stuff in? And Tim Spector came up with a very simple, I wouldn't even call it a formula, but what he said was you should be looking to eat 30 different types of plant across a week. Now, a plant is, no, you don't need to be vegan. Don't worry about that. I can't believe we've got a nutrition podcast and it's 30 minutes in and that's the first time I said vegan. Anyway, I'll carry on. So what constitutes a plant? Well, a coffee bean is a plant. Good news for you as well is cacao bean, which is chocolate, is a plant. Pumpkin is a plant, so pumpkin seed. So pretty much every ingredient that is in your food that can be grown is a plant, right? You need, and that sounds really obvious, I think. If I just said something stupid. Anyway, I'll carry on. You need 30 of those a week. So what we're getting here, just by applying that formula, you're probably going to cover off all of those macro and also micronutrients. So when I say things like vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin K, zinc, all of those micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals, and obviously a huge one that I don't think I've mentioned so far is magnesium, one of the biggest minerals that we need in our body. They don't all have to come in supplement form. A lot of them you will get naturally through your food. The last thing I actually believe that people should be doing is going out and buying a load of supplements. The first thing that people should be doing is eating a good balance of macronutrients, plenty of micronutrients, all unprocessed, and then see how you feel. Because you might actually, and this is the first thing that people generally do, is they go and get a test and they'll say, yeah, you're deficient in vitamin this, vitamin that, mineral this, mineral that, and you need all these supplements, and it's X hundred dirhams, dollars, pounds, euros, whatever a month. And the easiest way to get it into you would actually be to ensure that you're eating 30 plants within a week. So I like what Tim Spector said. He's a super bright guy. He knows a lot about nutrition. Go and listen to some of his podcasts if this is interesting for you. It's a great source. But you would feel a lot better. You would feel great if you had 30 plants a week. So start counting them up. If you look at the back of your packaging and there's not plants in it, there's a good chance that you're eating processed food, and that's a problem as well. So less processed food, more natural food, and you will get all those macro and all of those micronutrients. So if we eat this super well balanced and healthy, let's call it that, put up exclamation marks, diet, yes, physically we're going to feel different, but I think one of the things that people bypass, ignore, don't know, or don't take into consideration is there are actually 3 or 4 really key positive impacts of good nutrition on the brain. The brain is also a muscle. So when we talk about protein to repair, maintain, and build tissue, muscle tissue, we're also talking about the brain. So the brain also is involved in our cognitive development, but it's also involved in our mood regulation. So if you're getting a load of mood swings, first of all, you've got to admit that you're getting them. Let your husband or wife tell you, and it'll be all good. But the reason why you could be getting them is due to nutrition, which is super interesting. So there's 4 key impacts that I've pulled out that are of nutrition on our brain health. Number 1 is our brain development, so basically cognitive development and function. Proper nutrition is absolutely essential for our brain, especially during the early years of life where our brain is growing. So if we're not giving kids good nutrition, we're not going to see the correct brain development. And this is becoming an even increasingly big problem in young kids. We're seeing a number of different cognitive development issues in kids these days, and a lot of it is really down to food. So we need to make sure that they have, there's certain nutrients that are, I'm just thinking about what we've got here, things like omega-3 fatty acid, B vitamins, iron. These things are absolutely essential for cognitive function. Things like memory, learning, and also solving problems. So if we have good nutrition, we're going to have great development, so learning development, and good ongoing function of the brain, which, yeah, it's good to have energy to go to the gym, to go out with friends, but it's also essential if we want to perform to have good cognitive, good brain energy. Mental health and mood, I mentioned it before, is point number 2 of the impacts of good nutrition on our brain. Our nutrition is massively impacting our mood and our mental health. There is absolutely no doubt. If we've got deficiencies in certain nutritions, we've seen these linked to mood disorders and things like depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. And that could be something as simple as a deficiency in micronutrients such as vitamins or minerals, things like fatty acids that are neurotransmitters. These all affect our mood massively. So good food, good mental health, good mood, good brain, happy life. Yes, there could be other, and it's hard to box things. So if you are someone that suffers from sort of depression or anxiety or mood swings, yes, there could be other things. Yes, it could be your environment. However, there's a really good chance that you can fix some of it through better nutrition. That's pretty cool. That's all in your hands. Your environment, sometimes it could be a work environment that you feel like you have to stay in, no problem, but you can fix your brain health, you can fix some of these moods through good nutrition. You might just have deficiencies in certain micronutrients. That's how simple it could be. Good nutrition also means good supply of power, petrol, whatever example that is resonating with you most. We're having good levels of focus. So if you're getting highs and lows in mental energy, it is mainly very often due to poor energy supply. The brain really demands I guess you could say, a constant supply of energy for optimal function. It's like you've got the foot to the floor, but you're giving a little bit of petrol and then you're not giving it any. You're giving a little bit of petrol, then you're not giving it any. And this is where we feel, and one of the fallouts can be things like we've got headaches, we're just not feeling too well because we're demanding the brain to work, but we're not actually giving it the energy that it demands. So super important, massive impact is just to sustain good food, good macronutrients leads to a good sustained energy levels and mental focus as well within the brain. And the final thing on sort of the impact of the brain goes back to a little bit to oxidative stress and inflammation and staying away from neurodegenerative diseases. If we're constantly demanding things from the brain, but we're not feeding it in the right way, then I guess this is a very simplistic way to look at it, but it basically starts to give up on us. So we're asking it for things, we're not giving it energy to do it, and in the end, it just goes, bosh, I'm not that interested to do this for you anymore. So that's kind of a little bit of a worry as well. However, it's reversed by good nutrition. So brain health is massive in nutrition, or nutrition is a massive contributor to brain health, as much as you would know that if you want to go to the gym, you also need good nutrition. And that's why I think the latter there, people know that if they have poor nutrition, then physical output is affected. However, mental output is massively affected as well by poor nutrition. And the more work I do in the corporate world and also high performance coaching with corporate personnel, the more it's evident that we're asking people to perform at high levels on a cognitive stage. We're asking a lot from their brains, but we're not fueling that performance in the right way. So if you're stuck at work, if you get brain fog, if you can't think like you were thinking before, have a look at what food you're eating, how it's coming in. So is it evenly distributed? Is it different one day, different the other day? Timings, there's a whole load of aspects around that. And then you will probably normally have the answer. Go with Tim Spector's, am I eating 30 plants a week as well? Some common issues and maybe questions that I hear a lot and that maybe you guys are facing, or some of you might be facing. Number one is people waking up without any energy. And this kind of cascades, doesn't it? Because I wanted to go to the gym, I woke up, I don't have any energy, and no one wants to go to the gym if they don't have any energy. Where's the answer to this? The answer to this is normally 12 or 24 hours before. What did you eat the night before? And some people will, a great example is, I was late from work, and I had to do some work after, so I got home and there wasn't much in the fridge, so I just had a little bit of basically nothing. No macronutrient spread, very little micronutrients. Therefore, you wake up 12 hours later, or 40, some people don't sleep 12 hours for sure, but you wake up the next morning and you don't have any energy. If you're waking up with no energy, the answer is in what you had the day before. Second common issue I'm seeing, and this has been addressed, is memory issues. If you have memory issues, you have almost bad brain health or mood swings, things like that, then probably you're not getting enough nutrients into your body. More for the brain and for the muscles, the micronutrients are super important as well. Some people feel more hungry later in the day. As the day goes on, they get more hungry. And some people also, I see, like, okay, by this time I'm starving. If you're in a state of starvation, and starving's a little bit of a loose term these days. Previously, it was taken quite seriously, but people are constantly saying they're starving, but actually the rate of people passing away from starvation in the developed world is actually, it almost doesn't exist. People are not actually starving. But if you're starting to feel hungry, again, we would always look back to the 12 or 24 hours, how you have been fueling. If you have skipped breakfast, then there's no surprise by 11 you're hungry, especially if you've eaten poor nutrition the night before. However, and this was another sort of common issue that I wanted to address, was fasting. Should I fast or shouldn't I? For some people, fasting's absolutely fantastic. Some people use it constantly. Some people use it as an intermittent thing. Some people use it a few days a week. It works for some people. However, it's very difficult to fast and perform optimally if you're not fueling correctly. And what I mean by this is, if you eat that example meal that I said just a minute ago, that you get home and you just snack on something that's not that much, then you still want to fast for 12 hours or 16 hours, which a fasting window should be about 16 hours. You're 100% going to wake up hungry, and you're going to get closer to the end of that 16-hour window, and you're going to go to what I was saying at the top of the show, where we're not organized. You're going to be in a weaker state, and what your body is going to be telling you it needs urgently is carbohydrate, glucose, because it needs to bring that energy up, and your mind is going to tell your fingers to press that button on that app for a meal that's not great. So feeling hungry later in the day, or getting to this point where you're feeling, oh, I'm starving, or using fasting and it's making you hungry and making you make poor meal choices, what you need to do is you need to revisit your meals. If you're having really solid meals that have a good distribution of micronutrients, then absolutely you should not be getting hungry, and you should also not be in a position where fasting doesn't work for you. Fasting will work for you if you eat your meals properly. Fasting will not work if you're just using it for a caloric deficit. I use fasting quite a lot, but I'll still eat the same number of calories throughout the day. Think about that. That's super important. Some people don't feel satiated when they eat. If you don't, have a look at the makeup of your meal. What did it have? Visit the previous bits of the show. Did it have good micronutrients? Did it have good macronutrients? You should finish feeling satiated. Processed food is not satiating us as much as unprocessed food, so that could be where some low-lying fruit is as well. Some people say they get hungry at night and they raid the cookie jar. I say, what does your dinner look like? What time did you eat it, and what did you do after it? Now you're thinking, well, I didn't eat too much. Actually, I don't know what I ate, because when I was eating, I was on my laptop. So I have bad hygiene around my meal times, and it was on Deliveroo anyway, so it was poor quality, and it wasn't I'm not satiated. Of course you're not. One of the key things to eating, and I'm surprised it's taken me this long to say it, is actually the build up to the eating. I spoke close to the top of the show about sitting down, making a plan for the week, making your shopping list. And if you carry on that journey, you go out, you do the shopping, you come back, you prepare the ingredients, you cook it. During all these various stages, we're actually having some quite amazing reactions in the brain that actually help us to feel more satiated. It's a really cool concept that actually, through delivery apps, through convenience, has all been completely wiped out. To answer that question, I'm getting hungry at night and I raid the cookie jar. You're probably not eating enough at dinner. Yes, I don't want you to eat a whole load of dinner at 10 p.m. and try and sleep at 10:15. We want to try and eat 6, 7 p.m. And if you can, something that's actually a really good technique for almost just, we haven't spoken too much about blood sugar levels, but it brings it into a really nice sort of almost back in homeostasis, is just a 15 to 20 minute walk after dinner. Some countries it's available to you. In Dubai right now, you'll tell me it's hot, but it might be worth it sweating for 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, maybe you're saying it won't be. But that could actually work super nicely as well. So if you are eating a well-balanced meal, but you're still wanting to raid the cookie jar later, why not just go for a walk after your dinner and then see how you feel? Another common issue is having no energy for your workout. I've addressed this. Have a look and have a think about what your food looked like in the last 12 or 24 hours. Another thing people will say is, I've changed my diet, I'm eating less, and I'm not losing weight. You could be eating less, but you could still be eating shit. You could have gone from 5 Mars bars a day down to 3 Mars bars a day. It doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. So the quality and the makeup of your food is absolutely essential. It's very hard to put on weight eating salad without loads of sugary salad dressings. It's very hard. It's not very hard to put on weight just eating like decent amounts of steak and potatoes and stuff, because you can still obviously overeat. But I generally find with people, you will get full and probably a little bit bored of the food. Like, it's quite hard to eat 500 grams of steak. I've tried a lot. However, if you're eating like a 250 gram piece of protein, it could be steak, chicken, fish, lamb, whatever your choice of protein is, you're eating that with a decent amount of fat, something like avocado, nuts, oils. You've put some carbohydrates in there. Could be potato, could be sweet potato. If you're into rice, there's a space for some people for rice. Yes, I know it's not paleo, but it actually works very well for a lot of people. It works very well for a lot of cultures. Look at the Japanese, what they do with that as well. Then if you eat a plate of that, you're probably gonna be, and it's a decent portion, you're probably going to be quite well satiated. And sometimes the first stop is not reducing the amount of food. The first stop is actually developing habits of eating good food. And then you could say, right, I've not gained weight, but I'm not losing weight. Okay, now we can go to a point of, let's just reduce that portion size by 10%. Then let's go maybe 15%, then let's go 20%. If you say, I'm just gonna start eating half of what I normally eat, again, 5 Mars bars down to 3, you're probably not gonna lose weight. Also, when we go, what I found with working with a lot of people on nutrition, when we really restrict, it seems very temporary, and we also get into situations like I said earlier of I'm starving, and those situations, we become incredibly weak. So if you're not losing fat, some people actually might not be losing fat because they are under eating as well, and the body's just freaking out going, oh my God, I've stopped being plugged into the charger. I've stopped getting the petrol. So I'm in, and iPhone does this. It goes into like this low power mode when you go to 20%, where it shuts down certain systems. The body does exactly the same thing. If it thinks it's going to be starved, it's very smart, and it starts to go into a storage mode. A lot of people are not losing weight because they're under eating. Some people complain, a common issue, which can be fixed by food, is they have muscle soreness. If you have muscle soreness, then yes, the type of workout would have had an impact, but your nutrition and your hydration would also have an impact on that. Some people are snacking too much. Bodybuilders taught us to eat 5 or 6 times a day. We're not bodybuilders. I think most of the people that are listening to this show are probably rank amateur athletes like me or wannabe business people like me as well. So we're not bodybuilders. So we don't need to eat every couple of hours. If we eat well, 3 meals a day is absolutely great. And if they're good meals, you shouldn't want to snack. If you're finding that you are needing or wanting to snack between meals, there's 2 options. Try and eat a little bit more at the meal based around the good application that I've spoken about a lot, good macronutrients, good micronutrients, or look for a healthy alternative for a snack. That could work as well. Some people actually prefer, and their body might work a little bit better with a mid-morning snack or a mid-afternoon snack. Just make sure it's something good. And that doesn't mean 4 or 5 digestive biscuits with chocolate, although that would taste super nice, but I don't think that's what it should be. And the final sort of common question or common issue I hear a lot is, okay, how much do I need to eat? Now, there's a few different ways to look at this. There's your BMR, your basic metabolic rate, basal metabolic rate, what you actually, and the InBody machine that we have here in InnerFight, it tells us or gives us a guide of how many calories you need. We'll then look at how much exercise you're doing in that day. You might demand a few more, and then we'll have an idea of how many calories you need. I'm not massively interested in people counting calories, but some people need it as a guide. Sometimes you can get those calories through really poor food. So it again goes back to quality food, unprocessed food, good micronutrient balance, good macronutrient balance. Tim Spector's 30 plants a week, you will be full. That's how much food you need. If you're still struggling, give us a shout. We can help you. We do we do a lot of helping people with nutrition, and a lot of it is just by making people comfortable and aware that what's on their plate is actually serving them in the right way. And a great way to do this is just to take a load of pictures of your food and just have a look through. I spoke about consistency. Some of you might think that you have a lot of consistency. Take pictures of your food every meal for 7 days and then bring it all up on your screen at the same time and check if you're consistent through the amount of food and the balance of macronutrients. It's a dead set giveaway whether you are actually eating enough, too much, and what's going on within your food. It's way better than counting how many calories. It's way better than trying to track it in an app that's, like MyFitnessPal used to be good, but there's a lot of bad information in there from what I've seen, and I haven't used it for about 6 months, but there was a lot of bad information, a lot of distorted scores, and people become a little bit too strict about it. And to be honest, a lot of the information that we're getting of how many calories is in something, I don't think is the truth. We're being lied to, so be a little bit careful on that. Let's wrap it up. Eating for high performance in life is really a bit more than what should I eat. It's about the right nutrition for your body to do what it wants to do. Not everyone wants to go to the gym 5 times a week. Not everyone works super hard and demands massive cognitive health. So it's very individual for you. But there are a few takeaways that I want you to have within this. Number 1 is to have a great balance of those macronutrients. Don't kill the carbohydrates. Yes, kill the sugary, crappy bread that you put Nutella on, for sure. But don't kill sweet potato. He's not the bad guy. You need to keep him in the diet. Yes, you don't need bad fat, but you need good fat. So keep good fat in your diet. And yes, you need protein. a balanced macronutrient makeup is absolutely essential. That's point one. Point two is the quality of your food. Quality is everything. Educate yourself. You are ultimately responsible. If you can't read, pronounce, understand, don't know what is the ingredient on the back of the packet, please don't eat it. Number three, don't destroy your protein. Have your protein unprocessed, meats, chicken, fish, and don't put lashings of terrible sauce on it. If you need a lot of sauce on stuff, you have a problem with sugar. So please, please don't destroy your protein. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We need the healthy fats. Olive oil, avocado, nuts, all these things are super, super important to us. How many is that points? What will I give you? 10 to finish, 4 done. Number 5, haven't spoken about it a whole heap. I've tried to stay food-wise, but please stay hydrated. A great equation for hydration that I've used throughout the years, I think it works really well. Body weight divided by 30 is about the amount of water you need as a base. So if you weigh 60 kilos, you need 2 liters a day. If you weigh 90 kilos, you need 3 liters a day. And that is as a base level. If you're working out a lot in Dubai, especially at the moment, you probably need a lot more. And at the same time, if you're drinking other drinks, which should be restricted anyway, you will need to further increase your hydration. The timings you have, point number 6, the timings you have your food are key. I spoke about not eating at 10 p.m. Figure out the timings and try and make them as consistent as possible. If you have your breakfast every day at 8, have your breakfast at 8. Make sure it's the same makeup, have it every single day at 8. Try and have some consistency so your body knows when it is getting its food. At the same time, if your days are quite different every day, then figure out how your eating needs to work around your days. And by that I mean, if you only work out on certain days, you don't feel more hungry on those days, or you do feel more hungry on those days, figure out what actually works best and understand timing that makes you satiated, that makes you not want to snack, and that gives you the energy you need. Really, really important. Number 7, don't forget your micronutrients. Don't just think about protein, carbs, and fats. Think about those little guys as well. If you take one thing from the show, take the mood swings thing with micronutrients. It's really, really important. Point number 8 is that you are going to need to, recovery is important. And yes, sleep and recovery is a completely different topic, but food is helping you also to recover. So think about it like that. Think about what I said, where actually a lot of food is to build up the immune system. A lot of food is to make the bones stronger. This is all about our recovery as well. We can push our bodies hard. Athletically, we can push our bodies and minds hard in the workplace, but we need to make sure we're eating well to get that recovery, and then all of our other recovery, like discharge, sleep, relaxation, from that as well. I've mentioned it many times. I have 2 points left, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I've mentioned it many times, but processed food needs to stop. That's it. I won't say limit, I would just say remove processed food. Now, you might say to me, yeah, that's really, really hard and everything's processed these days and it costs a lot more to have unprocessed food. I've heard absolutely every argument under the sun. Processed food needs to stop. Think about what I said at the top of the show. Food has changed so much, that's why we're having so many issues. The human body hasn't changed. Don't give yourself processed food. Give yourself unprocessed food. You will notice a massive difference. And my final point, and I've mentioned it a couple of times along the way, so hopefully this one will ring with you and stay with you. Ultimately, you have to take responsibility. It's up to you. You can decide whether you have good physical and mental energy leading to you looking, feeling, performing amazing, having vitality, great relationships, and generally just feeling good with your life through your nutrition. It's all in your hands. You have to create awareness around what you're eating, how it makes you feel, and how it makes you perform. And then you have to make a plan to listen to podcasts like this, to make sure you have the skills, make sure you have the understanding and the knowledge bit by bit. And it's not, nutrition is a minefield if you allow it to be a minefield. It's actually quite straightforward. And that's why I've done this show in the order that I've done it. It's super straightforward if you keep it super straightforward. Stay away from all of the advertising. Stay away from what everyone else is doing. If it's working for them, that's great. Listen to your body, figure out what works for you, and please, nutrition is your biggest tool to high performance. It absolutely is out there for you to use. If you need help, give us a shout. winning@innerfight.com. We help a lot of people to use nutrition to achieve various different goals. It is one of the probably lesser spoken about tools in the corporate world to enhance performance and enhance profitability of business. Just by eating better, we can help people to perform better in the workplace as well. Hopefully that was useful. Thank you, as always, for listening to the show. If you do have any comments, questions, or suggestions, winning@innerfight.com. I'd love to hear from you.